Today we're talking with Reverend Stephen Baroody. Stephen has a background as an American Baptist pastor and in the field of IT. He's been a deacon here at PPC and is one of our members. Stephen, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Laura. Glad to be here.
So I understand that your sister was a nun. Tell us a little bit about her impact in your life.
I want to, but I want to give you a quick background before we get to that point. What happened is, and I don't even know what exactly happened, but when I was born, I was deathly sick. And I was sick from the day I was born until I was 21 months old. And at that time, I was in the infant ICU, or not infant, but whatever, ICU at the hospital. And my heart had stopped, and they had to give me a complete blood transfusion to get me going again. And when the doctor finally released me from the hospital, for some reason he diagnosed me with cystic fibrosis. I don't know why, because we found out later on I never had it. But back in those days, my parents would never dare to question a doctor's diagnosis. So now the point is I'm being labeled with a diagnosis which is very difficult to deal with. And to add up on top of all that, for some reason my parents decided, well, he's sick, we don't need to teach him how to talk. And I still haven't figured that one out yet. But so because of that, I talked baby talk, gibberish, right into school. And so can you imagine going to school as a kindergarten or first grade, and nobody can understand what you're trying to say, and then you're labeled with cystic fibrosis, and plus I have to go to speech therapy class every day. I was not the most popular kid at school. I can't go to gym, I can't play sports, and I'm constantly going to speech therapy. So the background there gives you a reason to understand that I was very depressed. I was isolated from other kids. I wasn't allowed to do things that I wanted to do because of my so-called diagnosis. And so I'm in Catholic school. In about 6th grade, I started getting a little bit more depressed because of everything going on. And my family life was not good. My home life was very unhealthy physically and emotionally. And so I never wanted to go home if I could help it. So at that time, my sister wrote to me she went into the convent in 10th grade to get away from my family. And at that time, she used to start sending me holy cards. They're just little cards. And she'd write a little saying on the back of it to encourage me. And I was an altar boy at the time, and I remember her writing, imitate the baby Jesus and be a good altar boy. Now, that seems so silly now, but at the time I was hurting so bad, to have those words of encouragement meant a lot to me. I still have the card from 1963. And then she also gave me a book on the life of Christ. And again, if I read the book now, it sounds silly. But back then, it taught me that I was loved by God, by Jesus, and that I was not damaged goods. I was a good person, and I had value, even if other people didn't see that value. So by my sister going into the convent, her spiritualness came onto me. And through her love for God, for her love for Jesus, she taught me that I was also loved. And that really helped.
Wow, that's powerful, Stephen. Tell us a little bit about your decision then to go to seminary.
That's a good one, because when I was in Catholic school and I was an altar boy, I wanted to become a priest because I really respected and admired the priest. And just the whole Mass, and it was just magical to me. It was wonderful. But then in high school, I dropped out of high school. And so I knew then that my dream of becoming a priest was damaged because I didn't have the schooling that I needed. Well, I went in the Navy when I was 17 to get away from my parents and my family life. And while I was in the Navy, I got my GED diploma. Well, after we got out, I met Carol, we got married. And throughout the years while we were married, for probably 18 years while we were married, I kept saying I need to become a minister. But we always had a reason why we couldn't. We couldn't afford to. We'd have to move. We'd have to do this. Where would there be a seminary? All kinds of questions. And I was working in IT at the time, and I liked my job, but I never felt fulfilled. I felt there was something else God was calling me to do. And I always worried about where, it's in the Bible, there's something to do with the fact that if you ignore God's gift, it's not a good thing. So finally one day I came home from work when I was 38 years old, And I just told Carol, I said, I'm sorry, I'm going crazy. I can't do this anymore. And so we talked about it, and part of that reason was also because I spent a year helping a gentleman who was mentally challenged, and that meant just being a friend, talking to him, visiting, and we used to talk about God, how he saw God in his life, or he didn't see God in his life. And so between work and that, I just told Carol that day, I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to go to seminary. And so thank God for Carol, because she's always stood by me. And so we had to sell our house. David was 4 years old. He had to go to daycare. And I quit my job. I just walked away from it. And I just started going to seminary. I had to get a school loan to survive. But I like to tell people, you don't wait till you can afford to do something. If you honestly feel it's God's calling, you must trust in God and go forward. And that's what we did, and it worked out beautifully. I loved the seminary, and it worked out well.
What's your goal in life?
One of the things I realized, and the reason I told Carol I wanted to quit working, is because I realized working in IT was not fitting the goals I thought God was calling me to do. And I felt only as a minister could I truly fulfill the things that I wanted to do. I know I could help people volunteer and things like that, but I wanted to be in a position as a spiritual leader to guide people, to help people find God in their lives every day through the turmoil of life events, life transitions, death, marriage, all the different things that go wrong in life, that they're never alone, that they always have God by their side. And to me, that's always been important. And then the last 7 years or so, I've been diagnosed with cancer. And I've been slowly dying every day, but now it's at the point where I'm in hospice and I'm dying. But I still have that goal. I believe in God. I'm not worried about it. I want to be able to use whatever days I have left to reach out to people and remind them one-on-one, eye-to-eye, that you are loved and you are never alone. And I say that because I know I am never alone. And that with God, I'll get through this, and I want to help people get through their experiences.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for talking with us today.
You're welcome.
Really grateful.
Thank you.